Here's another keynote at the fourth day of HR Week conference. Anna Stojanovic is a solution-oriented business leader with 14 years of global HR experience. Currently, she has the role of Regional HR Director for Europe, the Middle East, Africa, and India at Tektronix company based in the UK. You already had a chance to see Anna. I think it was on the first day of the conference, so welcome again.
Thank you, Yavana. Great to be with you. Hi, team. How are you doing? I hope you can hear me well this time.
Yeah, all good. Looking forward to the presentation.
Excellent. Just tell me if is the presentation sharing? Perfect.
Yeah,
thank you.
There it is.
Fantastic. Thank you. Hi, team. I wanted to spend a little bit of time today talking about ourselves and how we develop HR talent. So this is the agenda. See, there we go. So I'm going to start. I put the timing because on each of these topics I can spend a lot of time. So we're going to talk a bit about me and my career journey, just to kind of give you perspective how I've come to where I am today in my career. We're going to do a bit of interactive exercise. So we're going to focus on you. And I wish that this is a workshop where I can actually see you too. But we're going to do our best. So for now, prepare a pen and a paper because you're going to need it in about 3 minutes. I'm going to talk about hiring for high potential HR talent and developing strong HR team. Again, this is my philosophy, so take it for what it is. It's working for me, and I hope it's going to be somewhat useful to you. And then as a bonus, I'm developing and going to be experimenting with this framework to support and take care of our teams mentally, emotionally, cognitively, in terms of fatigue during COVID-19. And so I'm going to share just a brief framework with you. And hopefully we have some time for Q&A. Okay, so here is my career journey. Ja sam iz Srbije. I was born and raised in Serbia. I studied at the American University in Bulgaria, my undergrad. And then at the age of 22, I moved to the US to study at my master's at Cornell University. And then since then, on the left side, you can see a bunch of companies that I've been with and some names that you may or may not recognize. This slide is not to show that this is to brag or to show that this is one way to, that this is the way to grow HR career. This was just my way. But what I share with you today, hopefully will be applicable to grow your career, whether it's with one company or multiple companies like I have decided to do. And I hope that it serves you in that sense. So number one, for me, it was very important to know where I'm heading and what is my professional career goal. And so I'll share very openly with you, one of my professional career goals is to be Chief HR Officer of a Fortune 500 company. And in order to get there, I created a list of experiences and developments that I needed to get in order to be, let's say, qualified and considered for a role that big. And so I am strategically taking new opportunities and positions that will bring me like feathers in my cap, bigger learnings to the position that I eventually want to get to. So one consideration to have there is complexity of the role. So for example, at one point in my career, my team and I were supporting product lines that together combined to $3 billion in revenue and 10,000 employees. Now, my current role is smaller in size of revenue and as well as number of employees that my team and I support. However, the complexity of the region and the sort of decision-making authority that I currently have is actually a developmental opportunity for me that, again, is going to be another feather in my cap towards my overall goal. So, some other HR leader may say, well, that wasn't for me. But for me, because I wanted to have a global perspective, coming to the region, to EMEA and India, was a very important part of my career journey. I also want to talk about how important mentors are. and how to make a decision in your career, on your career journey when, for example, external circumstances dictate some of it. So one of the most difficult decisions I had to make professionally was going from Colgate-Palmolive to Twitter back in 2012. And so why was this difficult for me? So Colgate recruited me from college. They invested so much money, time in me. They are a wonderful company. I learned basically everything I knew from HR from them. They sent me around the world. They were a very global company. I fit with the culture and everything. However, I was living in New York City. I met my now husband, and he was moving to Silicon Valley. And so I decided to follow. So I reached out to my mentor at the time, and I said to him, what is my next best move? And he said, well, there is this startup. It's called Twitter. Again, this was 8 years ago. And they're pretty unstructured. They're up and coming. They're pre-IPO. But I think for you, it's very important right now to get experience in a more unstructured startup HR environment, because you already have experience at Colgate, which is more established, great processes, very multicultural. And so I did that. And so at the time, the move was like, really? Like, what? What are you doing? But I think it was a great learning experience, sort of throwing me out of my comfort zone. So there I want to conclude that sometimes even when outside circumstances impact your decision, which they will, still ensure that even then you're making informed decisions. You get enough feedback from the experts and the qualified people to give you that guidance to still get you closer to your career goal. Okay, so now let's talk about you. So I don't know if you guys can hear me well. They're saying that there is some background noise, so I hope I'm just going to continue going. And Milice, you jump in if it's too much, okay? Okay, so team, I want you to take a pen and paper right now. Pretend that you are in an interview, okay? So it may be for your next role. If you are, let's say, HR generalist right now, you're going for HR manager. If you're HR manager...
Hey, Anna, sorry for interrupting. We hear you well, but there's this beeping sound. Can we try without your earphones? Can you just unplug them and try talking, and we'll just sort it out right away?
Let me see. I can't hear you now, though.
You can hear me? Not at all? Nothing?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. We're going to sort this out real quickly. Just...
So you lost audio?
Yeah.
I will just continue talking.
They can hear me. I can't hear them. Okay, I can hear. Okay, perfect.
Okay, you can hear me now?
No, for the beeping. Okay, I can hear you.
You can hear me? Okay, great. So we hear you well now without that beeping sound.
Perfect.
I will just like to ask you to continue from this pen and paper thing. So just for the post-production, if you can just repeat the last couple of sentences, and that's it. Enjoy. Thanks.
Will do. Thank you. And you met my husband, because of whom I left the job at Colgate. Okay, so take a pen and paper and let's pretend that we are in an interview for your next role. So if you're HR generalist, think about you're going for HR manager. If you're HR manager, HR director, whatever is in your position, if in your company, if you are CEO, you're going for president or board of director. So I really want for you guys to take this seriously, because I think this is gonna give you good foundation to develop your career wherever you are. So question number 1, just 1 second. What are you working on developing right now? So here I'm not asking you about your weaknesses. I'm asking you more about your growth, right? So give me 3 things that you are developing, learning right now. And I hope this week has given you enough food for thought there. What are your key strengths? Again, give me at least 3 professionally. What do you think you are really, really, really good at? Gives you energy, you love doing that. What are your long-term career aspirations? Here, think 3 to 5 years. If you're really bold and you really have it figured out, think 5 to 10 years. But write it down. And then why do you think development of HR talent is important in the first place? Okay. So now let's look at what answers tells us. So I'll tell you that I ask these types of questions or a version of these questions, any candidate that I interview, whether it's for HR, specifically for HR, but for business as well. And that when I'm asked, also when I interview with companies, if I'm asked these types of questions, I know that the company is actually a growth company. They are working on developing their talent. They're not interested in just your current capabilities, but to develop you for your potential. So question number one, what are you working on developing now? So this shows me a level of coachability, self-reflection, and learning propensity, right? Are you really, are you having let's say a more an approach where you're saying, I know everything, I've learned everything, I heard it all? Or you're saying, okay, this is where I want to go. This is where I can learn. I'm very curious. And to me, it reflects candidates' desire to continuously improve and grow. What are your top strengths? I love this one because this, again, shows me self-reflection, but it also gives me someone's ability to grow from their position of strength, because when we do that, and we'll discuss that later in the presentation, that gives us the energy. That gives us that feeling at the end of the week that we are not depleted, but we are energized from our work because we work from the place of strength. What are your career aspirations? That helps me define and hire for potential beyond the current role. And I don't know, say that so many times that I always hire for potential beyond current role. And so if somebody hasn't thought about their career aspiration or is not able to articulate their aspirations, then other people will do that for them, right? So the manager will say, well, maybe you should go and do this, or should do that, or the company will do the same. And oftentimes people that I coach, if that's how they grew their career, sometimes I don't want to say always, but they end up being dissatisfied, and the outcome is not favorable. Okay, so hiring high potential HR talent. Why is this important? Because strong HR talent is foundation for talent-driven culture, and I hope that in this conference, at least, we can agree to that. To me, to have credibility with the business, we need to practice what we are preaching, right? We cannot have weak HR talent and propagate strong talent culture. That's like going to the dentist and the dentist has bad teeth, or going to the personal trainer and your personal trainer is out of shape. So in order to have the credibility, we also need to have a strong HR talent. How? Invest the time. So the more time you invest upfront, hiring the right folks for your team, the less time you will spend micromanaging them in the future. And the rest of your team will thank you for that, because your top talent wants to be around top talent, and they don't want to be feeling like they are carrying the slack of somebody who is not doing their job or not doing their job well. And I always say that I hire for somebody who is better than me and who also complements and adds to the team. And what I mean by that is we all have our unique strengths. And so I don't want to find somebody who is the same as me. I want to find a complementary skill set from whom I and my team can learn as well. And how do I know that I have found that right person? That part is a little bit more intuitive for me. Sometimes I have this feeling of butterflies that I can't believe that he or she is going to work for us, for me, that they have chosen me as their leader, right? So when I have that feeling, and again, that's more of a gut feeling than anything, I know that I've made a good hire. So developing HR talent, these are my top 5. On each of these, I can spend probably 1 hour. So I am not going to, because Yelena is going to kill me. But I am going to touch on some. I'm going to tell you where you can read more, because I've started writing articles on these things. So number 1, invest the time in development for yourself, number 1, and then for your team as well. It doesn't just happen, and it is not easy, because we get so busy with day-to-day stuff and fighting fires to develop, to put the time to actually learn and develop. It is sometimes gets hard, so you need to be proactive, thoughtful in planning, prioritize, put the effort and time in there, because it's going to pay back so much. Gather feedback and continuously improve. On this one, I constantly ask my team, especially after big deliverables that were successful, that we delivered, what have we learned from the situation and what can we do better next time? And in the beginning, while they didn't know me that well, they would say, well, Anna, we did really well. Like, what else do you want? But to me, it's better to, like, what is that saying? Time to repair the roof is when sun is shining. So it's better to find those marginal improvements that we can do while we are ahead, then wait for the complaints to come, and then we are trying to fix things later. So always try to improve processes and always think about how to improve. Experiment for learning and growth. Experimentation is a big part of our culture. And so I've again written an article on this, so I'll share where you can find it, but don't want to spend too much on it now. To me, I ask always my team, develop a hypothesis, right? So what are you testing right now? Then test it. If, let's say, that first test fails, let's say you were testing this hypothesis and you were expecting this results, you didn't get those results, you've got learnings, and then you use those learnings as data points to continue to improve processes in the future. That's it, right? It starts and ends there. And if you have that mindset, you never feel like a failure, because those are all learnings that you get in your career growth, on your journey of whatever project you have. Focus on strengths to develop each person for their unique value, and understand how teams work are 2 that we are going to cover today. So when we develop people for strengths, research tells us that people are 6 times more likely to be engaged in their jobs and 3 times more likely to report having an excellent quality of life in general. This is StrengthsFinder book that I typically use. The book defines all these different strengths. It's from Gallup. It's all based on research, and I'm sure many of you know of this. And at the end of the book, there is an assessment. So people do tests, and it gives us back 5 top strengths that people have. So what are strengths, right? So when we are operating from our strengths, that's when we are in our zone. Time flies and we didn't even notice, 5 hours go by. For me, that's when I'm developing workshops for teams in our organization. And so I design workshops and how the flows, and I just, I kind of look on the clock and it's all few hours went by. When we are at our most creative, when we are learning, we are experimenting new things. In presentation this morning, Alex was sharing some of the tools in learning and development, and I was writing them down. I was getting all of these ideas, how I can utilize those, because they were new to me. And also we feel challenged, right? We are feeling that we are growing instead of stagnating. So this is strengths formula, again, from StrengthsFinder book. Basically, it says talent times investment equals strength. So if you have your natural talent is something, let's say you're a great communicator, well, you can't just say, like, I'm a great communicator and you don't develop it. You still need to put time and effort in it, and then it becomes your strength. And the best example is Mr. Michael Jordan. Hope everybody knows who he is. But, in terms of talent, time investment, basketball, his talent was 10. No, I think no arguments there. In terms of time investment, he was one of the most regimented athletes of all time. So he was super invested there, and his strength was at 100, right? Baseball, I don't want to debate on this one, but many people say that his talent in baseball was about 5, and then still time investment. He was pretty determined to do this one well as well, so he put at 10, but still that could only get him to 50. And so what we see in organizations is that we so much focus on sort of developing our gaps instead of multiplying our strengths. And that's what we want to change, right? So if you spend your life trying to be good at everything, you will not be great in anything. I share that with my team often. And just to give you an example of how that looks like in my team, current strengths in my team, connectedness. So one person is really good on bringing us all together, connecting us to the higher purpose. One is a great communicator. One is achiever, which means that she just gets us going. I am very futuristic, which means I get a lot of energy thinking in the future of what is to come, dreaming big, strategizing, and so on. And then once we've done with individual development, it's very important to develop our team. And I use this model. There are many models out there, but the underlying thing with any team development is to know that you cannot bring high potential or high performing individuals together and tell them perform at a high rate right away, because that's where we see failure. We need to understand that each team goes through these phases of development, just like an individual, just like a child. And so to get there, we need to accelerate some of these first phases and invest in them to get that momentum and get to high performance.
Oh, I'm back.
Okay.
We hear you well. That's all good. I just wanted to ask if you can give us a wrap up in a minute, because we have one question for you.
Sounds good. Yeah. So I actually am at the last slide. So I would say this as HR, we need to care about our own development. Just to sum everything up, this is an immediate reflection of how we think about talent development in the organization. We need to invest the time to find and develop our people and ourselves. Don't forget yourselves. Focus on people's strengths to create an engaged team. Every team evolves through phases, and it is our responsibility to understand how. And finally, I want to leave you with this thought, which is enjoy seeing your people grow and thrive, because there is no better thing than that.